Did you know the LA Kings have their own culinary partner? It's Superfood, celebrating 10 years and over 1 million meals served. Since 2020, the Kings have trusted Superfood to fuel their players. Now through Simply Lunch, you can bring that same performance-driven food to your office. Because when people eat better, they work better. Visit mysuperfood.com. That's mysuperfd.com. Or call 213-973-6145. Qualified companies can enjoy a free lunch for up to 10 managers.
Creep in. Beat Byfield base of the circle. Back to Fiala up top. To the middle. Kempe wants to switch with Fiala. And then Kempe shoots and scores! A one-timer from the top.
You're listening to All the Kings Men, the official podcast of the LA Kings.
Byfield after it takes it away. 2-on-1. Byfield with Kempe. Byfield to Kempe. He scores! Adrian Kempe, the overtime winner again!
Now, here's your host, Jesse Cohen.
Welcome back, Kings fans. I am Jesse Cohen. This is All the Kings Men. Ordinarily, we'd go straight into King of the Week, and I did record a King of the Week episode yesterday morning with Dennis Bernstein of the Fourth Period. And then just a few hours after that recording, totally out of the blue, we heard that Adrian Kempe had signed a contract extension. So, reached out and got Zach Dooley to join me first to talk about that contract extension. Then you'll hear my conversation with Dennis Bernstein. It was another great road week for the Kings. Hope you enjoy the podcast. All right, this is coming out on a Monday morning. We're talking about news that broke between 2:30 and 3. I don't remember the exact time, but we're recording this just before 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. Joining me from the road, Zach Dooley. How are you doing today, Zach?
Jesse, I'm doing great now.
Where are you? Are you still in Ottawa?
I'm in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow. You guys already left. Okay. You already arrived in the so this is dumb. But Carlin said last night on the telecast, she referred to Ottawa as the nation's capital, which is technically correct. Ottawa is the capital of the nation that you were in. But when people say the nation's capital, I always think of like the nation being the United States. Anyway, you're in the nation's capital. The reason we're talking is that Adrian Kempe just signed a contract extension, and it's what we've all been waiting for. And my first thought after hearing that it signed, before I started thinking about term and AAV, and we'll get into that, my first thought was, yeah, well, this is why it doesn't matter when it happens.
100%, right?
Like all of the Sturm and Drang yesterday about, is he going to sign? Now it's just gone. Now it's like, okay, well, okay, he did. So problem solved.
This contract kicks in next year.
Yeah.
Right. So like if he signed it 2 months ago, or if he signed it 6 months from now, he would still be signed for next year.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you. I think that Juice took a little bit less to stay.
It seems that way.
I think he took less than he would have gotten. I think 8 years. We talked with Ken Holland in Toronto for a few days ago, and he said that 8 years was always on the table. So that was kind of agreed upon early, was that both sides were comfortable with the 8-year term. Ken Holland met with JP Barry, Adrian Kempe's agent, in Toronto just a few days ago. Ken seemed to think that meeting helped in the negotiation. He also pointed out that, while all these other contracts had been signed, I think that one, it probably pushed the number up higher than the Kings originally expected. But two, what he said was it set comparables. It gave them negotiating things to negotiate against. Like now there's players signed in Kempe's range who you can actually look at and be like, okay, here's a number that we can actually work with. And at the end of the day, I think that Kempe compromised a little bit on his number in order to stay in LA. And he said it from the start, right? He wanted to stay. The Kings said from the start, we want to sign this guy, and they get it done. And that's awesome for both sides.
This is one of those things where in the moment, I am curious and fascinated and want to talk about the details. The second we end this call and the second people stop listening to us talking about this, I will lose all interest in the details of how and when and why it got signed, because then it just becomes part of the fabric, right? Then it just becomes, okay, the next time I have to think about his contract, I know what the numbers are, right? It just changes the conversation from, well, if he signs, then what, to just, no, he signed. And so that's that. Now, we don't know if there's trade protections or bonuses, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. He signed for 8 years. And as much as I would love to know, well, why did it take 4 months or whatever? Like at the end of the day, and I'm not trying to dismiss, what could be perfectly legitimate questions. I just personally, genuinely don't care. I'm curious, but not emotionally invested, right? Like, why did, you said you think Adrian Kempe took less, but probably he did. But the rumors were out there were that the Kings were trying to lowball 10.5 or 10.625. I think I read. It's not a low ball. It's not an outrageous ask either. It's not like 15, 16, $17 million a year, but it's also not $8 or $9 million a year. Like seems totally reasonable to me. And so, sure, the curiosity bug inside me says, well, why did it take till November 16th? And why couldn't it be done on July 10th? And the reality is, who cares? It got done.
He signed. Yeah. And
Yeah.
he signed for 8 years. He's
Mhm.
basically committed the rest of his career to LA.
Yep.
In doing so. And it's great, right? Like this is the team's leading scorer. He's over a point per game this year. Probably the team's best player pound for pound when you look at 200-foot impact, playoff performer. And there's that narrative, right? That bigger players don't want to sign in LA. Why would Adrian Kempe want to sign in LA? Well, he just showed you that he does, right? He showed you that's not correct. So it's huge for the Kings, I think, to get that one done. And it's great for Kempe, who's a guy who has earned that contract. Like I was looking at his numbers after seeing the signing, and it was like 5 years into his career, he had a career high of 14 goals and had broken 30 points one time.
Right.
Like that's the ultimate player development, patience story from a team side, and the ultimate, like, a player who stuck with it and did the right things and got rewarded for on the player side. Like, so it's always it's just good to see a guy like that rewarded, and a guy who I think you and I have both enjoyed dealing with, over the years as a person as much as a player.
Yeah. And I mean, so one of the questions that always pops up is, why, well, you mentioned the unrestricted free agent thing. Why would Adrian Kempe, want to sign here? Or why would any player want to sign here? And, just without getting into the 0.625 of it all and taxes and all that, he just made $80 million. Guaranteed.
Sure did. Yeah.
So like, I had said earlier, okay, he said he wants to stay here, but that doesn't actually mean anything. What I want to stay here means I want to stay here provided that the terms are acceptable. Well, $80 million, the difference between 80 million and let's just say 90 million or 100 million, if he had held out and made a fuss about it, and maybe he decide, who knows? He's never going to be able to spend the difference between those two numbers in his lifetime. So that's obviously, we have proof he did want to stay in LA. So he's staying in LA. And from a team perspective, one of the things I had said was, if they didn't find a way to get this contract done before July 1st, 2026, it meant way more for the team potentially than it did for the player, right? Adrian Kempe was going to get a contract barring injury.
Yep.
He would get a contract somewhere that would pay him tens of millions of dollars. If the Kings had lost Adrian Kempe, that's a huge blow to stability and identity moving forward, and a lot of uncomfortable questions have to be asked. Now those questions are avoided. Now next year, there are still questions. What are you going to do to replace Anze Kopitar? What are you going to do to replace Corey Perry? I suppose Corey Perry can come back for another year.
He might sign an 8-year deal tomorrow.
He might. There are questions, but the big one is off the board now, and I think that's got to be a huge sigh of relief for the front office.
Number one question, right, facing the team was, when this was supposed to be, it was like, the class of 26 free agents.
Yeah.
All these guys, right? And then you're like, okay, well, maybe, the Kings can keep Kempe and also get another impact player. Well, then Kaprizov signs, then Eichel signs, then McDavid signs, then Connor signs. And all of a sudden, all those impact players are off the board. So I think the pressure amplified on the Kings for sure to get this player signed because of how important he is to the organization and how few other options there were to not like just replace him, but then to try to build upon him. It was almost impossible to find that player out there. So good job by both sides of getting it done. I think both sides are happy with the number. And like you said, right, Kempe probably, if he took the whole thing out and he was said, I'm going to leave, he probably could have made another $1 million a year to play somewhere else. But he wanted to stay. The Kings made a sizable enough commitment to him that he was happy with it. And ultimately, he compromised a little bit on his end to make it work. And now you're not staring down a bleak situation. Now you have Kempe locked in, you have Byfield locked in, you have Fiala locked in. Your three leading scorers this year are all either in their prime or entering their prime and signed. And now you can try to build off of that group to get a player that puts you over the top. Otherwise, you're looking at a lot of work that needed to be done just to get back to even. And that would have been really, really, really hard for the Kings to do.
I want to know if there's a general manager out there or, some front office executive for some team who had a list of pending free agents this coming summer of 2026 and who were just crossing them off one at a time, and who
Billy Madison.
Yeah, had finally gotten down to Adrian Kempe, and the longer it dragged out, they were like, you know what, talking themselves into Adrian Kempe, like, okay, he's not Connor McDavid, but that's fine, it's fine. And then today, nope. And I don't even know who's next on the list, because like Kyle Connor signed,
gone, Kaprizov, Eichel, McDavid,
they're all gone
in a span of like 3 weeks. I felt like all those guys signed, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I genuinely don't know who the next on the list would be, but it's wild. It comes on the same day. Now, I'll ask you, and Dennis Bernstein spoke to it when I spoke to him earlier this morning, but people will have to wait to hear him say it. Dennis Bernstein had news on Drew Doughty's foot. I'm just wondering if you have heard the same thing that he heard, because obviously you put it out there publicly that he was seen in a walking boot.
I didn't, but Elliot Friedman did.
Okay. But, all right. I thought I saw you say the same thing.
I shared Elliot's tweet, but I hear the same things, but ultimately I think we'll find out at morning skate before the Washington game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was a relation to the ankle, which is the biggest news, right? Like if it was the same part of the body that had all those problems last year, that would be a major red flag. So it doesn't seem like it's in that boat. I don't know exactly, what it's going to be, but
I'll just tell you what Dennis told me, because I said it.
I haven't heard that.
He said it in a recording that people will hear and will be public. He said it was the toe, not the quote unquote foot. And my question was, well, wait a second.
There you go.
The toe is part of the foot. So what difference does it make? But according to Dennis, it was very clearly the toe. Not sure where that information comes from, but I don't know. That's what he said.
So what it's not then is the ankle, which I think is important.
Yes. I mean, it sounds like toe issues are easier to come back from as far as timelines. So
totally.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't want to get too far off base about Kempe, sorry, because that is the purpose of this emergency update. So Adrian Kempe, 8 years, between 10 and 11 million. I haven't actually looked at cap wages. I should have done this before. I know everybody else likes using Puckpedia, but I like using cap wages. I can't help it.
I have transitioned to Puckpedia.
Cap wages looks like cap friendly, and so I'm just used to it. I don't know why. But so Adrian Kempe becomes the second highest paid player next year on the LA Kings.
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know. I think that's kind of interesting.
I think it's, for sure, right?
Yeah.
Definitely is.
Drew Doughty still under contract for $11 million in the 2026-27 season. Adrian Kempe will be making $10.625. And then next up is Fiala at 7.875, then Byfield at 6.25, Deneau at 5.5, and so on and so forth. I wonder, and this is one of those things I'm curious about, but I don't really care about. I wonder if not being paid more than Drew Doughty was a negotiating point on the part of the franchise. I don't remember the details, but I seem to recall when Doughty and Kopitar were signing their extensions, there was some sort of finagling over like, okay, one person will get more total length of contract, but never be paid more than the other one in a certain season, something like that, and this is all sorts of weird things like that. But so Adrian Kempe becomes the highest paid forward, second highest paid player next season. And then once Drew Doughty's contract is up, presumably Adrian Kempe becomes the highest paid player on the team.
It's always that interesting time. And I think it's different because obviously on ice and dollars don't always equal, but you've always talked about how hard it was for a player to become a number one center with the LA Kings while Kopitar was here, or become a number one defenseman while Doughty was here, because that position was not available.
Right.
You think about it now, it's like, okay, once Drew's contract ends, it is that official kind of transition AAV wise to like the highest paid players will be that next wave of guys. Right. And like, I think that Drew Doughty's got a lot left in the tank. I would expect him to re-sign at a lower number when the time comes. and still be a very, very important part of the Kings. But he won't be most likely the AAV leader at that time. That's probably going to be Kempe or another player in that age range who has become part of the core. And that's kind of interesting, right? Like finally, those top paid things are available. And it's good on a guy like Kempe, who is a great success story, draft pick, development wise, who's now ascended there. Byfield is ascending there. Fiala was brought in to be a part of that. And I think that he has earned his place in that conversation. So it's kind of interesting. Like I've always agreed with you on that point. And now maybe finally we are seeing that changing of the guard a little bit. And it's great that it's Kempe.
It also kind of pivots the identity of the team. Not kind of. I think it totally pivots the identity of the team. Anze Kopitar has been this team's best player since 2005 or 2006, whatever year it was his rookie year. I guess it was 2006 because he played in Sweden 2005, 2006. Like the day that Anze Kopitar stepped on the ice, he's been this team's best player. Number one center, number one over the board, special teams play, two-time Stanley. We all know his resume. Next year, when Anze Kopitar is no longer on the team, once he's retired, this becomes a team whose best player is a winger. No disrespect to Quentin Byfield, but I mean, I think even if Quentin Byfield's ceiling technically winds up surpassing Adrian Kempe's still older, still more established, still been around longer. And so like the most important player on this team becomes a winger, and the Kings haven't been in that situation, I don't think, since Ziggy Palffy, which and now that was right before Anze Kopitar showed up, but that's just like a really weird shift. Identity may not be the right word, but just like in terms of what kind of team it is, right? The Kings haven't been that kind of team in over 20 years. It's just kind of crazy.
And Kopi is a Hall of Fame two-way center, right?
Yeah.
And I think Kempe is certainly a two-way winger. But he's also a speed, skill, shot, physical guy. And it's kind of funny how well the two of them have meshed chemistry-wise when they're almost like polar opposites in some ways as players. But yeah, it's an interesting point. Like he becomes that centerpiece of the team. He's worked his way into the leadership group, Warren A last year on a part-time basis when Doughty was out. He's there. He's the guy. Like he's the dog. He's been the best player in the playoffs over the last 4 years. Year over year, he's been one guy who's always shown up. Some guys have been up and down. He has always been, I think they're, a top playoff performer. So yeah, it's really interesting to see. Like, I don't think the Kings will be one of those teams where it's like, okay, this is Anze Kopitar's team. It's not just Adrian Kempe's team. It's probably a few guys' team, but he's at the forefront of that. And that's going to be an interesting transition for sure.
Another funny little detail that only matters to me is that Jay Fresh had a tweet. He does those things where when a player signs a contract, he just writes like a little 2 or 3 sentence summary of like, John Doe is a two-way forward who has played, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So he did the same thing about Adrian Kempe, and he talked about, he's good off the rush and he's got a quick, wrist shot and da-da-da. And then he added, and he's, known to throw a hip check or two when covering on D. And I was like, okay, that's funny and it's cute, and Jay Fresh is known for being funny and cute, and I find him funny. But how many hip checks has Adrian Kempe actually thrown in the last 4 years?
Enough for somebody who doesn't watch the LA Kings day to day to know that he throws hip checks.
Sure, but would you say it was more or less than 7?
I feel like it's more. I feel like
really? That's funny. I would say way less. The only reason I say 7 is because that's how many goals Joel Edmondson has as a member of the LA Kings so far. And if you asked me to describe Joel Edmondson, I wouldn't say and also capable of scoring the occasional goal. I would just say like big stay at home.
But also like has maybe the hardest shot in the NHL.
I mean, as it turns out,
it's funny that those two don't.
Montreal. Yeah, I just thought it was funny because I was like, okay, yes, Adrian Kempe throws those hip checks and they make for great highlight videos, but I mean, it's rare. It's not like he's doing it every other game or anything. I count on one hand those are the ones that I can remember. Anyway, congratulations, Adrian Kempe. Congratulations, LA Kings, and more importantly, congratulations, LA Kings fans and LA Kings talking heads people, because we don't got to talk about it anymore.
It's nice. Or the conversation is now like, oh, sick, they got him signed.
Right. It's done and done. Moving on.
Much better conversation to have now that there is a deal done.
Yeah, totally. And for whatever distraction it may have been, which I genuinely don't suspect that it was. I certainly didn't see any evidence that it was. But for whatever distraction it may have been causing either the player or the franchise, that's over now. So
if there was one, right? Yeah,
yeah, and
it's not
I
there
never
anymore.
saw any sign that there was. I didn't.
Same. Yeah.
But at least now it's not even a question, because it would come up occasionally. But no, done, signed. That's it. Zach, enjoy our nation's capital, not the other nation's capital.
Our nation's capital.
Yeah, and 8 points so far on this road trip. Possibility of 10 or 12, and hopefully they can do it and bring it back home and keep winning at home.
As good as it could have gone so far, and see how it goes against the Capitals, and be great to come back with a signed Adrian Kempe, and 10 of 10 points would be as good a trip east as you could possibly have drawn up.
The comparisons to the last road trip are eerie. Both ending in San Jose, both starting out with 3 regulation wins and 1 game going to overtime. The difference, of course, being the Kings won this one. But anyway.
Literally the only difference, right?
Yeah, so far.
Win.
Yep.
Right, overtime game, and then win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And 1 extra game tucked in there, and then finishing it off in San Jose. Anyway, Zach, I'll see you when you get home. Travel safe. Thanks for joining me.
See you in a bit.
It's Monday morning. That means it's time to crown another King of the Week. Joining me to help out this week, Dennis Bernstein from the Fourth Period. How are you doing today, Dennis?
Doing great, Jess. Great to be with you again.
So we're talking about the first 3 games. Well, not the first 3 games. We're talking about 3 games on this road trip, the second, third, and fourth games on this road trip. Victories over the Toronto Maple Leafs, Ottawa Senators, and the Montreal Canadiens. 3 Canadian teams up, 3 Canadian teams down. They defeat the Canadiens 5-1, Toronto 4-3 in overtime, and we're recording this the morning after the 1-0 shutout of the Ottawa Senators. You know the format. Our listeners know the format, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Your honorable mention for this week.
Honorable mention I'll give to Darcy Kemper.
Okay.
2 wins. I think his save percentage in the last 3 games have been .914. And I talked to Darcy wants to be in the Olympic team without question. And I think when you look at the guys who are on the 4 nations, Hill, Bennington, and Montembeault, he's better than all 3. So my honorable mention would be Darcy Kemper.
That's okay. So that's an interesting pick, and it's going to give me an opportunity to go off on a tangent that I've often been curious about. I have, for a very long time, believed that the naming of players to international teams at whatever level is not always just about who the coaching staff thinks is, the quote unquote best. That there's politics and personal stuff.
100%.
Okay, so I mean, you probably know better than I do. You probably talk to more people involved in that sort of thing than I do. That sounds right to you?
Yeah, well, I'll give you an example. Like, is Macklin Celebrini better than Braden Point? Is Bedard, but maybe
not today, but maybe someday.
Well, but John Cooper's probably going to put Braden Point on the team, right. So, and Doug Armstrong's one of the guys. Don Sweeney's one of the guys. So yeah, of course I think it's more about the coach and who's comfortable with, and they did win a gold medal with these guys. So, but I think the goaltending is entirely different. Like if you pick those 3 guys, if you look at their numbers, I think they're all one's hurt all the time, Hill. And the other 2 are under, look, did you see the goal Montembeault gave up, the 3rd goal against the Kings?
Yeah.
Like both these guys have been terrible. Yeah. So there's no reason why. And Darcy was a Vezina nominee. And he's now found his form again. So yes, just to your point, absolutely, there's politics, there's favoritism, there's nepotism, but it's just a microcosm of life, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's just funny because everybody, I don't know why I've just got on board with this in the last 6 or 7 months, but the notion that sports is a meritocracy more than other parts of the world, right? It's like, it is, but it also isn't. It's like, people say, well, it's a what have you done for me now, or what have you done for me lately world. But
well, if John Cooper pushed for Nick Paul to be on the Olympic team, that's another story.
Sure.
Right. So the issue is, Jess, is that there's so many great players in this league right now. If you really want to have a legit international roster, there should be 60 guys, I don't know, 30 guys on the team. So to narrow it down to 14 forwards is a challenge. But yeah, they play. Is Coop going to be comfortable playing a guy like Point with 2 minutes left in a gold medal game? Yeah, more so than Celebrini or Bedard or Matthew Stafford, who's doing great things for the Islanders. So they have to earn their stripes. So yeah, it's not always about meritocracy. You're absolutely right.
I've always said, just because I root for Canada in international competitions, it's
Of
crazy
course
to
you
me
do.
that multiple entrants from the same country can compete in individual sport. Like in a race, you can have two guys from the States in the same
Right,
race, but
right.
you can't send two teams to the Olympics from
Yes,
Canada.
great
Like
point.
the Canadian B team would be just as good, if not better, than plenty of other teams that'll show
True.
up in the Olympics. Anyway, all right. So that was your pick, Darcy Kemper. Since you were going with Darcy Kemper for honorable mention, I'm going to go ahead and throw in Anton Forsberg, just because he got a shutout against his former team, and he's been sort of up and down so far this season. I mean, he hasn't played a ton of games for the Kings, but to show up and come out with not just a win but a shutout win against his former team in a game where it was sort of the opposite of the Toronto game, right? In Toronto, they outplayed Toronto but had to win in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Ottawa, I'm not going to say that anybody outplayed anybody in the Ottawa game, but
Correct.
Ottawa had, more expected goals or whatever you want to call it. It was a grimy game. It was a boring game. It was a slugfest. I think neither team had more than 20 shots on goal in the whole thing. But Forsberg made a couple key saves.
You did. Wait.
And
Yep.
and they went to him a little bit earlier than I would have thought. Like Kemper was on a roll, and so I thought, well, you just keep playing Kemper, but they didn't. They put Forsberg in. It was against Ottawa, his former team, and he comes away with the win.
Yeah, I think that was always going to be the plan. You want to do that for that player, right?
Yeah.
And late, he was good. He was really good. Like some big. And Jess, Jordan Spence tried really hard to score last night.
Yes, he
He
did.
really Saturday. He really, really tried to. He had a really good game. He was very active. Yeah. So, and there wasn't a lot. I think the shots were 18-17. But you're right. Late, Forsberg was good. So I understand why you would go with him.
Have you seen it's a few days old now, but the press conference with Knobloch in Edmonton where he's asked about his goaltending and he sort of took a beat. So you were on the road. I heard your voice in the media scrums coming out of the Canadian trip with the Kings. Darcy Kemper picked up his first win, I think it was this week, in a game where his save percentage was under 900.
Yeah.
And
Toronto.
part of the way that the Kings have been, finding themselves, I'm using aggressive air quotes for everyone who can't see. Part of the way that the Kings have been finding themselves and getting back to a more consistent effort, I think, is the result of two different people. One is Alex Laferriere and one is Darcy Kemper.
Agreed.
Does it feel like the team is getting more faith in their goaltending as the goaltending improves?
Yeah, because Darcy's reverting to form. And the one sub 900 save percent, the Leafs had 3 chances in that game, and they finished all 3. And Tavares was their best player by a mile. So that was kind of an anomaly. But yeah, Darcy's back to what he should be, right? I mean, the last 3 games, he's a 914 save percentage guy, the guy that got a Vezina nominee. So yeah, and look, you got to throw out the first 6 games, Jess, at this point.
Yeah.
Right? It was an anomaly. People are still harping on it. They're 9-2-2 in their last 13. Like, this is a team. And look, I get it. They're not producing offensively. They're going to have to be better offensively. But let's be real. If a team's DNA is check for their chances, they're going to play boring hockey, right? They are. But they need to be better offensively. I will not get away from that. But just when you look at the defense and the goaltending, 5-on-5 through the same amount of games last year, the exact same amount of goals given up, right? And they're ahead of the pace of last year. So people think, oh, no, and stop. Like, this is a team. And not only that, Jess, look at the rest of the West. There's one team that's great.
Yep.
Colorado. They've lost 1 game in regulation. Everybody else, this team is playing as good as any other team in the West right now.
Yeah, the phrase that Zach Dooley and I sort of have come to like is they stumbled out of the gate, right? When it was mid stumble, it felt like, oh no, is this going to be a year-long slide? But now, like you said, whatever their record is over the last 15, it's incredibly good.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got the goaltenders represented in our honorable mention. Let's move to runner-up. Your runner-up for this 3-game stretch.
Now, Laferriere, 2 goals, 1 assist, a game-winning goal, back to form, and an important part, especially with Kuzmenko not delivering. They need his offense. So he's been in the middle of things. He's been creative, really like his game, and that's what we should be accustomed to with Alex Laferriere at this point in time. He needs to be at this level, at this pace of play.
Yeah, and I mentioned it earlier. I genuinely think the better he plays, the better Fiala and Byfield play.
Agreed.
And that line has been really effective. I'm sure we'll
Yeah.
talk about it more later. And I think a lot of that has to do with Laferriere. He's one of the players who stumbled out of the gate. No disrespect to Alex, but like after he sat out for a couple games and then has come back in, he's really settled into form.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Yeah, and a guy who I didn't put on the list, but is a very, very important player under the radar, and maybe he shouldn't be, is Warren Fogle.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you have any hope for the Deneau line to get back to where they were, at the end of last season, like Warren's a really important player. People forget he scored like 23 even strength goals last year.
Yeah.
I think only Kempe scored more. Like this is an important player who's a good guy in the room, great guy to talk to, so that's important. But yeah, Laferriere, if you're going to be a top 6 player, you have to start playing at this level, and Alex has over the last. It's not just this week; it's been coming the last 6 or 7 games.
Yeah, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points, +3 for Alex Laferriere, the game winner in the game against Ottawa, and yeah, I agree. My runner-up is going to his line mate Kevin Fiala, and I want to talk about. It's a silly play, but it matters to me because you said check. You mentioned the phrase "check for your chances." In the Ottawa game, before the Kings entered the zone, before the Laferriere goal, on the play that saw them enter the zone, Kevin Fiala gets checked into the boards 2 feet away from the blue line, 3 feet away from the blue line. But instead of collapsing or crumpling or turning the puck over or whatever,
quitting on the play.
Yeah, he makes sure that the puck gets forward, and then Byfield's able to carry it in. Now, Byfield made a great play to carry it into the zone over the blue line. He made sure he was onside. Then, there's a little bit of a broken play. So, like, I don't want to say, like, oh, Fiala's play led directly to the goal as if he set something up. He didn't.
Yeah.
But what he did do was keep the play alive.
Yes.
So that 15 seconds later, a broken play could turn into a deflection goal. And that's not the kind of play that that I associate with Kevin Fiala. I think of Kevin Fiala as a more, finesse type player. I hope people can read between the lines at what I'm trying to imply. So if he's going to play like that, and Laferriere is going to play the way Laferriere plays, and Byfield has, 18 different versions of his game, that's how that line's going to round back into form. I thought it was a really nice play, and Kevin Fiala has been, he's been dangerous. He's been good. 2 goals, +3, 19 minutes of ice time. I think how good he's been has maybe been slightly overhyped, but he's been very good. I just don't think he's been like, people talk about him as if he's, just defeating the world all by his lonesome. And I don't think it's that, but he's my runner up. I mean, I think he's been really, really good.
Well, he's on pace for 38 goals. Yeah. And I'll use your air quotes. He hasn't had one of those games in a long time, Jess.
Yes. Yeah.
Where he's made mistakes. He's been risky. He's had to have been benched. When Hiller shortens the bench, Fiala's the beneficiary. Yeah. I think one game he played 22 minutes. He led the team in time on ice in one game. So, yes, when he's playing like this, and yes, the numbers are going to be good. They're always going to be good. But he's not making the dumb plays. He's not taking stupid penalties. He's not making hero plays. He's not being out of position. He's not putting his teammates in a bad spot. I think that's the best thing about Fiala on top of the production that, we're going to see anyway.
Yeah, so, the phrase, I can't remember if it was McClellan or Hiller who introduced it. I think it was McClellan talking about winning with your B game.
Yep.
And, Fiala's A game will always be points. But his B game used to be, like you said, turnovers, bad penalties, et cetera, et cetera. And so it almost didn't matter how many points there were because the B game might bite you in the ass.
Because people remember that.
Yeah, but now his B game is plays along the boards and puck protection.
He's not hurting the team. Yeah, no, he's improved. He's really he's improved, and he's driving the other parts of his game. He's becoming, is he ever going to be a 200-foot player? I don't know if you put him out there with 30 seconds to go to check Connor McDavid to prevent a goal,
sure.
but the careless plays that he makes or the overcommitment, the one side of the puck, isn't there right now.
Yeah. All right. So then your king of the week,
Quentin Byfield.
Yeah. 2
game-winning goals, 3 assists. 2. I do want to say that I was downstairs with Dooley as the Toronto game was ending. And you know how these guys say that Byfield and Drew and Fogle, because they're from Toronto, mean something. When they came off the ice down the runway, it was loud. It was like they won a playoff game. That game did mean something. So you hear all that narrative about it. It really meant they were loud. And this is a game in November that he dominated. It was a special game for these guys. But Quentin, what again? He went 11 games without scoring a goal. He was still accumulating points, but 2 game-winning goals because in Montreal, what did Hiller say? He went to the net finally.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's got to be the alpha. He's got to do it. Right? And then he had a great shot to win the. Drew made the play obviously in overtime against Toronto, but he's because he needs to be. And Jess, you look at the rest of the production of centers. He is now the number 1 center on the team from a production standpoint. I think he's doubled Kopi's numbers, so he had a really nice week. He needs to have more nice weeks like he did.
Yeah, 17 points in 19 games, and in these 3 games, like you said, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points, +5, led the team in points and plus minus, and although tied with Doughty, and playing 18 minutes, 7 seconds a night. And yeah, I mean, Quentin Byfield has to be, even if he's not in name, even if he's not the first one over the boards in certain situations, he's got to be the number 1 center this year, right?
No question.
Because next year, Andrei Kopitar is retiring, right? Like, it's not theoretical anymore. It's not, oh, what if someday, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like,
don't wait till next year, though.
Yeah, we have a date on the calendar, and you can't throw a guy into the deep end.
Yeah.
When you need it, you need to give him a little bit of, so this has got to be it. And he's playing like it right now. And like I said, I think that a lot of it comes from Laferriere. I just, the more hockey I watch, the older I get, the more I just believe in the multiplicative, I don't know if that's even a word, impact that certain guys have on other guys, right? So Byfield and Fiala separated from one another. They're both very good. Put them together last year, they start clicking, they start learning each other's tendencies, they start to get better. Then Laferriere starts playing a certain way based on how the 2 of them play. And the 3 of them, that line is way better than the sum of the 3 of them put together.
I think the term you would use for Laferriere, and he's probably he's the glue guy for that line.
Totally, 100%.
He's the consistent, every game what you're going to get from him. It's not spectacular, but he's smart, he doesn't make mistakes. The offense is starting to come. They need a player like him or him to play like this for the remainder of the season. They do. It's going to be the number 1 line on the team.
Yeah. So congratulations, Quentin Byfield, this week's King of the Week. Before we let you go, Dennis, I'm going to give you your pick of topics we can cover, and there'll be some crossover between them, I'm sure. You want to talk about Kuzmenko, the power play, or Drew Doughty's injury?
Drew Doughty's injury.
All right, let's talk about Drew Doughty's injury. So he blocks a shot. Well, I don't want to say he blocks a shot. He gets hit on the inside of the left foot.
He didn't see it coming. Right?
Yeah, and word out of Elliot Friedman, and I think Zach Dooley also verified that he was seen leaving the game in a walking boot. And obviously we don't know how long he'll be out, if at all, but it doesn't sound great. Ray Ferraro, I'm sure you didn't watch the telecast, but it was very funny to me because Ray Ferraro was in between the benches, and at one point in the third period, he's standing there talking about Drew Doughty, and Drew Doughty is within arm's reach of Ray Ferraro. There's no way Drew Doughty didn't hear Ray Ferraro talking about him and talking about his foot and whether or not he'd be able to come back into the game. And I just had to think in my head, like, does Drew Doughty put on just even for half a second, put on a little show because he knows he's on camera because Ray Ferraro is standing right there describing what he's doing and talking about it. But I mean, so if Drew Doughty is out for any serious amount of time, even if it's a single game, they don't have a Gavrikov to move to the right side and shoulder that load. No. Even if you were to bump up Brant Clark or Cody Ceci to his minutes, you still have to fill that guy's minutes.
Right.
So is Kyle Burrows the answer? Do we see somebody move from the left to the right and Jacob Murari steps into their spot? Like, what do they do?
Well, positionally, it would be Burrows because he's a right D.
Sure.
Right. But he's in the minors and Murari's on the team.
Yeah.
So maybe he's and for all the people begging for Brant Clark to get his minutes, he's getting them now. But it's not the way you want him to get his minutes because now he's going to have to go on the reason why Brant Clark doesn't play more, he doesn't kill penalties. And now he's going to have to kill penalties. So careful what you wish for. I have an update on Doughty. Right? It looks like it's his toe. It's not his foot. They dodged a bullet. Okay. So instead of months, it's going to be weeks. I would think, we're the middle of November, so maybe early December. So he's going to miss time. Whether I would assume IR. But they did dodge a bullet because if it was his foot, that would be bad.
Why is a toe better than a foot?
Because it's easier to heal and it depends on the toe. It's not
putting less pressure on it when you turn and pivot and stuff.
Yeah. If it was a foot, if it was like a metatarsal bone or something like that, it would be tough for this team. It's going to be tough anyway, Jess.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned, all the people are moaning about Gavrikov and Spence not being on the team. Defensively, they have given the same amount of 5-on-5 goals. This is the challenge, though. It's going to be a challenge. They're not going to be as good defensively. And Drew's played really well. Mm-hmm. Like I heard somebody say, well, last year when Drew went out, they played better. The team's 9-2-2 in the last 13. Drew's a +7. And they have a thing that killed 84% of the penalty kill. Like he's not replaceable. Like it's, you know what, Jess? They better score goals now, because they're going to give up more unless Darcy and Forsberg stay on ahead. This is an impactful injury when the team's going really good. But Jess, look around the league. Everybody's getting injured. Like, look at Jack. Look what happened with Jack Hughes.
Yeah, well,
Quinn Hughes is not playing. There's so many people hurt in the league. This is a tough one because the team did not play. And here's the weird thing, Jess. They're not playing great. But you know what they're doing? They're not losing games. They're finding ways to win. But is this a team that's making anybody nervous around the rest of the league? No, right now, because they're not playing great, but they're finding ways to win. They're not making mistakes, and their style still wins in this league. I'm not sure it wins over 82 games, but it's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks without Drew Doughty.
Yeah, I mean, my question about the style of play is if you're winning games like the Ottawa game, which great, they won, fantastic. How long can you play games like that before you get tired?
Well, if you play a game like that 10 times, you'll lose 8.
Well, sure.
The goalie will save you 1, and maybe you win on special teams, although this special teams is another conversation.
But I just wonder, because I've heard people describe some of the games on this road trip as playoff games. And those are entertaining as hell to watch. Mm-hmm. But it is November, right? And it's middle of November, right? It's November 16th, the day we're recording this. So, you can only play that hard. It's great if you start playing that way in late February, early March, and you get on a run and then the playoffs start and you're battle tested and you're honed and you're in the right mindset. If you're starting in the middle of November, man, you're going to get tired. So it's nice because on this road trip, for example, they've already won 4 out of 6 games. So Drew Doughty gets hurt, bad timing. It stinks. Nobody likes it. But if they lose the next 2, I don't want to say who cares, but I'll say it. Who cares, right? They've already won 4 out of 6. It's a good trip.
They're on pace. They're on a better pace than last season's 105-point team. They're 1 point ahead of last year. So yes, you would say who cares. I agree with you. It's already a successful road trip. But you want to get greedy now, Jess?
No, for sure, absolutely.
If they go 4-2, it's not like they were 2-2 and finished, or they were 0-2 and finished 4. You want win one of the 2.
Yeah,
right?
No, and they should be able to win both of them.
They should. Washington, well, I don't know. They didn't play great in San Jose. They got caved in San Jose and wound up trying to win that game. Washington's not playing well. Dubois isn't there. They don't have a second line center. So if you can split and go 5-1, and then what are they, 9-2-1 or something on the road, right? So they should be able to win games, but they're going to have to play the same way, Jess. That's here. Without Drew, they're not gonna be an up-tempo team now. They're going to have to probably grind it down even more, but they're comfortable playing those games.
All right, we don't have to get too deep into it, but I do want to ask you, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being panic, 0 being, no panic. Where are you on the power play struggles?
10 being everything's on fire.
Yes, 10 being put everybody onto a rocket ship, fire it directly
into the sun.
Yeah.
8.
That's exactly the number
They're
I would
standing around.
Yeah.
Corey Perry's the only guy doing his job, which is amazing.
I said last night after the game, because I thought in the Toronto game it looked better, but I think that has more to do with Toronto just struggling.
Toronto's a bad team. That's a bad team they played.
And then Ottawa up 1-0 in the third period with a power play. Ottawa was getting chances against them on the power play. And I was just like, that can't happen.
Jess, here's the thing. You have to stop with the 5 forwards.
Yeah.
Because you know what? They're scouting the Kings. You know what they're doing? They're attacking Adrian Kempe up the top. He's not a defender. They put pressure on him. And I'll be honest, maybe one of the worst weeks Adrian Kempe's played. He was terrible in Montreal. He wasn't much better in Toronto. Right? It's affecting him. You have to, and you can't put Doughty there because now Doughty's injured.
Right.
You got to put Brant Clark on the first unit power play. It's affecting, and not only that, just you don't put your best shooter furthest away from the net. I don't get it. I don't understand.
I've never understood. Yeah,
and now
you and
it's
I
not
are in
effective.
agreement on this one. Yeah.
And people want to put this on Kuzmenko. No. It's just they have to change.
Yeah.
They have to change. So, and I know that Hiller can be stubborn sometimes, but the lack of productivity, watching the power play, it's not like Jess. Sometimes you don't score, but you're effective, and you move. This team's standing around moving the puck. They need a change. They need to flush it. look at something else than to do it. So I would say 8 out of 10 because it hasn't cost them games because, like we mentioned, what their record is over 13 games. At some point, it will. It hasn't yet, but it will come back to bite them. They have to get away from the 5 forwards. It's hurting Kempe, who's out feeling the pressure, and they're not being productive.
Well, I'd like to propose this. Joel Edmondson scored against Montreal on a shot that I believe was 96, 97 miles an hour, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Clark and Edmondson on the number 1 power play with Kempe, Kopitar, and Perry down low. Why not? Give it a shot.
I'll take 90. You can leave 6 on that. Put him on the second unit. Let's baby steps for Joel.
Sure.
Put him on the second unit.
Sure.
Let him get another goal, and then maybe graduate him. But yeah, something has to change. And I think it's going to be, you talk about it, Brankoff's going to have to play the penalty kill now.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably going to have to play on the power play if it doesn't change now, first unit. So he's going to get all the people that want to play 27 minutes a night. Well, he's not going to play 27. He's not going to play 16 either.
Yeah, well, it's got to happen eventually. Dennis Bernstein, thanks so much for joining me. Always appreciate it.
Always great being on King of the Week with you, Jess. Thanks
and
for the time.
Enjoy the Rams game. I'm assuming that's where you're headed next.
I am.
All right, welcome home. Thank you.